Hey, Jonathan from GameSpot here. I'm here with Harada and Michael. These are the guys behind the Tekken franchise. For the console version characters for Tekken Tag Tournament 2, among all the ones that were revealed, like Angel and Kunimitsu and whatnot, who were the ones who were the most requested by the community?
Well, it depends on if you're talking about unique users that are asking for it, or if it's the same person in 100 times and counting that or not. If you count the just sheer volume with the same person responding multiple times, then perhaps Kunimitsu. If you count unique users asking for the same character, then perhaps June, when we were creating the arcade version. She was in Tekken 1 and 2, and especially the image of her in 2, I guess, as the Kunoichi, or a female ninja, maybe appealed to players more outside of Japan. That being said, even for 1 and 2, and then she wasn't in 3, but we brought her back for tag. But even in 3 of those installments, although she was in the game, she was not very popular, both from a popularity perspective and also from people actually using her, like a usage percentage. So she was maybe the second from the bottom, actually. So actually we brought her back this time, but because of all the feedback and requests on Facebook and Twitter. But if she's not popular this time, then that'll mean that everyone saying how popular she is and to bring her back would have been lying. So this is your chance to prove that she's actually popular with the fans. So also, some people complain about that her popularity or lack of was due to not being a strong character, but that's not the case. Even, for example, Gandu, even when he was strong, he was not popular. Then about her perceived popularity, perhaps part of this is due to her being a ninja. Even abroad, if a character is not very strong, even if they're not, very unique, or if someone doesn't like them particularly because of their characteristics, but because of their ninja, the ninja aspect alone adds to the popularity, I think.
Of course, ninjas in the fighting game always makes for good comebacks and whatnot. I was actually thinking, we need to ask about, because Gon actually did appear in Tekken 3 for some deal. Of course, I have to ask. Well, would that be a really huge problem in terms of licensing to actually bring him back in the new Tekken game?
Well, it is difficult to bring him back. I mean, we'd have to recreate him from scratch, and also the licensing issues. And even before that, he was a character that, the original manga artist approached us about doing it. So that was the reason for implementing him then. And there are a few people who say bring back Gon, but even if we did, I don't think he'd be that popular. And we have to think about the needs of the masses. The majority, if you have 10,000 people out of a million that want a certain thing, and only 10 or 20 out of a million, which one do you listen to? And that we do try to listen to the more minor opinions as well, and we've added characters to that. But overall, we have to think about what everyone wants from the series.
So, being that the Tekken series is under Namco Bandai brand, will we see a Gundam robot, or even a Pac-Man, or even a Dragon Ball Z character coming in a Tekken Tag Tournament guest character in the near future?
So it really depends. Up until now we haven't really done that, but I guess it's because it depends on what the fans want, and we haven't had a whole lot of fans tell us that they want guest characters like that. If they did, then maybe our opinion would change. But as it is now, most of the fan requests are on bringing back certain characters, or they want a certain character from their particular country or region. So until that need becomes strong, probably not.
I understand that you recently did checked out the Razer, the prototype of the joystick. So on a personal scale, what do you think about the joystick so far?
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer, because that's just asking for all kinds of editing in the headlines of how my comment is going to be. In one way, it might sound like I'm either saying they're better than the other or worse than the other. So it's kind of hard to win in this situation. That said, the stick, I think each company is kind of going after a different group. With Hori, they're working on pleasing the very casual crowd up until the the high-level tournament players. They've got a very wide lineup, where Mad Cat seems to be going after mainly the tournament-going crowd of the U.S. in particular. And when I looked at the Razor Stick, it looked like they were trying to go after a very core group of people who like to maintain and mod their own sticks. So it looked like they were making it easy to do that kind of thing. And also it looked like, since they're releasing much after Horia and both Mad Cats, that they had studied both products quite closely in designing their stick.
It has already been a year since Tekken Tag Tournament 2 has been out in the arcade in Japan and Asia. How has the reception been so far after almost a year?
Well, when you mention the arcade, it really differs. The arcades are still pretty much alive in the Eastern Hemisphere, obviously, but even so, Japan is quite different from Korea, and those two are obviously a lot different from China and the Philippines, or even Australia, New Zealand, and Oceania. So it's quite different depending on where you look at it. For example, one big difference between Japan and the other countries is that a lot of the people in the audience abroad were saying, "Oh, this is awesome," and they were having a good time with it, no problem. Where a lot of players in Japan had started with 5 or 6, so many players. There was the group that was extremely enjoying the game, and then there was a group that, since they joined so recently, could only use one character. And so they were kind of trying to figure out how to pick up another one and be able to practice without, while competing against other people. So, and that's the reason why we added the solo mode as well as solo versus tag to the arcade version later on.
And of course, the biggest elephant in the room that we have to ask is about the production of Tekken Cross Street Fighter. So how is that going on so far?
Well, first off, our marketing team was telling us not to really talk about much, but Tag 2, they want us to focus on that. That being said, the world was supposed to end this year, so, and I didn't want to work very hard and have that all for nothing, so I kind of, was taking it a bit easy on this production. But then recently they're saying that the world is indeed not going to end, so I guess I have to pick up the pace pretty soon. If there is one thing that I can tell you that I haven't told anyone yet about this game, is that, of course, the male characters in the game are going to look very cool and strong. The female characters are really well done. They're very, very cute and very hot. So it's almost like they're not even made by us. It's kind of looks so quite different for female characters.
So can we expect an announcement at TGS anytime soon?
Well, no, because that's just right after the release of Tag 2. And even though the game's released, we still have free DLC and other plans to tournaments and such to help support the product. So, even if we just released the game and then once everyone buys it, say, okay, here's the next thing we want to sell you, and we come out right away with Tekken Cross Street Fighter. That's not very fair to the fans, so we're going to be focusing more on the efforts that we have going on after the release as well, so not at TGS.
Of course, since you're on the subject of DLC, what would it take for other companies to actually adopt the whole free DLC after product launch policy, in your opinion?
Well, I've been trying to take care of this misunderstanding in the past 2 weeks on the press tours, but I've seen a lot of people on Twitter agreeing with my comments, and I'm happy about that. But I think I'm being misunderstood in that I'm not against DLC at all, because there are, or paid DLC, I mean, because as a gamer I often buy paid DLC all the time. If something new is added to the game and I feel it's of value, I will gladly pay for it. So it's not that I'm against it. It's when you say DLC, you have to pay particular attention to what I've said, and that is that it's the characters, techniques, and stages in particular. These are things that are essential to a fighting game, and I don't plan to sell them separately. That's what I've been saying about DLC, and that's just my thoughts, and that shouldn't be pushed on other companies and such. And I don't plan to charge in the future for these regarding Tekken. So when people ask me what kind of DLC might you have that would be paid for Tekken, some of the examples I give are, for example, some soundtracks from past Tekkens. Maybe these are some that you might not even be able to get your hands on. Some of them they sell on iTunes, maybe. So it's just another way to give people a method of playing these songs on their current Tag 2, kind of like you do with iTunes, but it would be within Tekken. Another option that perhaps, and this is something that the fans I've told them about that I might do, and they've tended to agree with me that would be a very good choice, would be to take the ending movies from past Tekkens as well. Even if you might have a hard time getting your hand on past copies, or even if you have the old ones, they might not work because you might have a newer PS3, right? So perhaps to be able to download these movies from past Tekkens and watch them on your current Tag 2 is something that people said they wouldn't mind paying for. So these are examples of DLC which I don't see a problem with being paid.
Of course, I need to also ask, like, now with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Capcom's first Cross title has been out for a few months or so. How do you feel about Capcom's treatment with your characters in Tekken?
Well, it's quite interesting just to see, because this is the first time we've let another outside company work with our IP. So it was really intriguing to see what they did with it, because not only is it that, but it's our characters who are originally a 3D game taken and put into 2D. So obviously the look was the first thing that was kind of interesting to see, and then also the techniques and the way they moved themselves was much like a 2D fighter, and it was quite interesting to see that. Not just that, I think we attracted a group of new fans who usually maybe only play casual console games. So I think it was very good.
Alright, so of course it's been like 10 plus years since you've started and worked on the franchise. How long more do you see yourself continuing Tekken?
Well, it really depends. It's hard to say because there's a lot of outside influences that could change that. The aliens could come and attack the Earth sometime this year or next, and then obviously we wouldn't be able to make another Tekken. But seriously, I guess it depends on if the title sells enough or not. And this time when we've been on the press tours and we're looking at the fan feedback, it's overwhelmingly positive for Tag 2, even more so than past installments. So if we end up with a final product that is what everyone's expecting and the game sells well, then that'll give us enough funds to work on another Tekken. So I guess it all depends on that. Not just from the Tekken, the company perspective, but myself in charge of the title as well. Because I'm a part of Tekken and the company and we're all linked, it really depends on how the title does.